An extraterrestrial lady approached me whispering, "I need you to act as my mate, just for tonight." Beginning. The neon bazaar of Very Station buzzed with sound and light. Vendors shouted in half a dozen languages, their stalls glowing with wares, crystals from Aronis, liquefied suns from Talcar, and machines humming with forbidden tech. The air smelled of spice, oil, and something faintly metallic. I was there for parts. Just parts. My old freighter, the Peregrine, was barely limping after the last jump. One more misfire, and I'd be adrift in the void. I didn't plan to get tangled in anyone else's problems. That's when she appeared. She was tall, luminous in a way that no human could be, her skin faintly iridescent like liquid pearl. Her hair shimmered silver under the station lights, and her eyes, emerald with vertical pupils, fixed on me with desperate intensity. Before I could even speak, she stepped closer, grabbed my sleeve, and whispered words that didn't seem real. "Please pretend to be my husband." I blinked. "Excuse me?" Her grip tightened, trembling. "Just for tonight. Please." "I'll explain." I should have walked away. I had my own problems. But something in her voice, raw, urgent, almost frightened, made me hesitate. "What's your name?" I asked. "Serenia." And just like that, my life stopped being simple. Middle. She pulled me through the crowd, moving fast. I caught fragments of whispers from passers-by, recognition, fear, curiosity. Whoever Serenia was, she was known here. We stopped at a grand archway leading into one of the station's high-tier banquet halls. Inside, nobles of half a dozen alien species mingled in flowing robes and polished armor. Guards in ceremonial gear stood at every corner. Serenia straightened, looping her arm through mine like we'd been bonded for years. To my shock, she leaned close and whispered, "Smile. Convince them." I forced a grin. Convince who? And then I saw him, an Aurelian warlord, plated in gold armor, his scaled face curling in disdain as he approached. "Serenia," he hissed. "Still playing games? You refused my claim, and now you bring this? A human." His gaze raked over me like I was vermin. Serenia held my arm tighter. "This is my bonded mate," she declared, voice firm but shaking beneath the surface. "We're already joined. Your claim has no standing." The warlord's eyes narrowed. The entire hall had gone silent. For a split second, I considered bolting. But Serenia's hand trembled against mine, and I realized this wasn't some scheme. This was survival. I stepped forward, meeting the warlord's gaze. "That's right," I said evenly. "She's mine and I'm hers. If you have a problem with that," I tilted my head toward the guards, "we can settle it in front of everyone." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Humans were rare here, rumored to be unpredictable, dangerous, even mad. I leaned into that reputation, praying it would work. The warlord snarled, but didn't strike. Instead, he spat at the floor. "This isn't over." He stormed away, his entourage following. Serenia exhaled shakily. "Thank you," she whispered. Now I really wanted answers. We found a quiet alcove, away from prying eyes. She leaned against the wall, her luminous skin dimmer now, as if exhaustion dulled her glow. "He's been pursuing me for cycles," she said softly. "My family arranged a bond, but I refused. To the Aurelians, refusal is insult, and insult is war. I thought I could resist alone, but tonight, I had to show him I was already claimed." I frowned. "And you picked me? A stranger?" Her eyes met mine, fierce and unflinching. "Because you were the only one who didn't look at me like property." That hit harder than I expected. "I'll keep up the act," I said slowly. But just tonight. After that, I've got my own mess to deal with. Serenia smiled faintly. That's all I ask. But fate had other plans. Rising conflict. The banquet continued, but eyes followed us everywhere. Whispers of the human mate spread like wildfire. I caught the warlord glaring from across the hall, calculating his next move. When Serenia excused herself to speak with allies, I slipped toward the balcony for air. That's when two Aurelians cornered me, blades gleaming under their cloaks. Your lie insults Lord Varric, one hissed. Step aside, human. Walk away, and you may live. I laughed, shaky, but loud enough to draw glances. Funny thing about humans, I said, hand on my concealed sidearm. We don't walk away when someone threatens family. Even pretend family. They lunged. The fight was quick, brutal. Humans weren't the strongest or fastest in the galaxy, but we were scrappy, and I fought like every alley brawl back on Earth had led me to this moment. One Aurelian's hit the deck with a broken jaw. The other bolted when Serenia appeared, her eyes blazing with defiance. You shouldn't have done that, she whispered, looking at the unconscious thug. Yeah, I admitted, catching my breath. But I did. She stared at me for a long time, something unreadable in her gaze. You're either the bravest man I've met, or the most foolish. Both, I said with a grin. Climax. We didn't get the luxury of peace. By midnight, Lord Varric made his move. He stormed back into the hall with a cadre of armored guards, declaring, "The bond is a lie. Let the human prove his claim, or die with his false mate." Gasps filled the chamber. Serenia clutched my arm, whispering urgently, "You don't have to do this. Run. Save yourself." But running wasn't an option anymore. Not when she'd trusted me. Not when she'd looked at me like I was more than just another drifter. I stepped forward, squaring off against Varric. "Fine," I said. "Let's settle this. One-on-one. You and me." The duel began in a circle cleared of tables and nobles. Varric wielded a blade that shimmered with plasma. I had nothing but my human reflexes and a borrowed staff. He struck first, fast, brutal. Sparks flew as I blocked, barely holding ground. Each blow rattled my arms, but I adapted, watching, learning. That was humanity's gift. Not strength, not speed, but the ability to adapt. Minutes dragged. Sweat stung my eyes. My arms shook. Varric roared, swinging wide for a killing blow. I ducked, rolled, and drove the staff into his knee with every ounce of strength I had. Bone cracked. He staggered. Before he could recover, I pressed the staff to his throat, pinning him against the floor. "Yield," I growled. The hall was silent. Then, with venom dripping from his voice, Varric spat. "I yield." Cheers erupted. Serenia rushed forward, eyes bright with something that looked suspiciously like tears. "You fool," she whispered, gripping my shoulders. "You've just made yourself a target for every Aurelian in the sector." I managed a tired grin. "Yeah, well, what else is new?" Ending. By dawn, Varric had slunk away, humiliated. The banquet resumed, though the mood had shifted. Nobles now whispered about the human who stood against a warlord, and won. Serenia stood beside me on the balcony, stars glittering through the station's dome. "I asked you for one night," she said softly, "and you gave me more than I dreamed possible." I shrugged. "Don't mention it. Pretend husband duty and all." She smiled then, really smiled, radiant and unguarded. Perhaps it doesn't have to be pretend. The thought caught me off guard. But as I looked at her, luminous under the stars, I realized something had shifted. I'd come to the station for parts for survival. Instead, I'd found something else.